fills up his briefcase, like just a regular briefcase.
Yeah.
It's not like a, watertight or sealed briefcase, but he's just filling up with Jack, getting ready to go on the job. His car is filled with beer cans. Like every time he gets out of his car to like, crime scene, just a couple beer cans fall out of the car.
Yeah. Yo, what is up, YouTube? It is another episode of Direct to Dumpster. I am James.
My name's Blaise.
And this week we are checking out the 1982 thriller Wacko, directed by Grayson Clark.
I don't know if it's so much a thriller. I would probably say comedy.
Yeah, it's another one of those microwave massacre movies where I was like, ooh, look at this artwork.
Yeah, definitely. This is an interesting movie. I've heard that the DVD, or maybe it's the VHS copy, had a version of it that said it's a scary and then something movie, but like they put scary and movie directly on top of each other to kind of like get people thinking that this is the precursor to the original scary movie.
Right. And even though it takes place with the W, Wacko, I'm sure they like placed it at Blockbuster right next to the scary movie VHS.
I don't think it made it to Blockbuster. I feel like this has probably got cleared out of the video house that Blockbuster bought.
True. That's a rare find, I feel like. Yeah.
But this is one of those movies that is a spoof of a lot of the slasher movies that were coming out at the time.
Right.
And that were big, back. This comes out around 82. So a lot of those movies before like the 80s slashers, there was a significant amount of slashers in the 70s and drive house type movies.
Right.
So this did spoof and parody a lot of them. And the kind of logline and premise of this movie is this lawnmower man killer. They're looking for him on the Halloween night. But you got this hapless detective who's just, he's a raging, I think a raging alcoholic is right.
Yeah.
Some pretty funny scenes with him when he's filling up his briefcase with, I think, just Jack or beer. Yeah. And
remind me of the almost like I felt like seeing a Cabin in the Woods not that long ago. I mean, I watched it recently. I felt like the whole like have a bong turn into a coffee mug could have been like a throwback from this or something.
In a way, yeah. Joe Don Baker's who plays this hapless detective, and he's looking for the lawnmower man killer. But yeah, he fills up his briefcase like just a regular briefcase. Yeah. It's not like a watertight or sealed briefcase, but he's just filling up with Jack, getting ready to go on the job. His car is filled with beer cans. Like every time he gets out of his car to like crime scene, just a couple beer cans fall out of the car.
Yeah, hangs out way too much with high school kids too. I mean, granted, the movie takes place in a high school, but just like some uncomfortable moments a few times I felt like.
But there are a lot of fun spoofs in this movie. It does make fun of Anthony Perkins, Psycho. Also makes fun of Damien from the Omen series. Correct, the son is named Damien, I think, if I remember correctly. But there are a lot of spoofs of popular horror films that were out at the time.
Yeah.
And wait, was the Omen really before?
Yeah, Omen is a 70s movie, yeah.
Okay, that's wild. So this movie did a lot actually with what little they had. They only had a $600,000 budget, which is a fair amount at the time, I guess. But they spent $260,000 on it to just secure a lot of the major stars that were in this film. George Kennedy, of course, and some of the other stars. But they did
caught us off guard. Yeah.
Well, I don't think they spent the money on some of the actual, like some of the stars that we recognize in this movie. I don't think they spent any of the budget on really. Yeah. I mean, this is when we saw him for the first time, he's kind of spoofing spoofing Grease and John Travolta in it, and that's Andrew Dice Clay. Like this is his first theatrical debut. He's in this film. He plays Tony Schlongini, who is like an Italian character. His name's quite hilarious. I don't know if Dice came up with it, but actually he's not even named Dice because I don't think he had created that character yet. He's just Andrew Clay. So it's a pretty cool debut by him. Also, we recognize because we're huge fans of Pee-wee, Dottie from Pee-wee, and she's also the voice of Tommy Pickles in the Rugrats series. Elizabeth Daly is in this. So I thought, it was cool seeing two people that we've seen. They're definitely lesser known actors, but they're pretty iconic for the roles that they have played. And, Andrew Dice Clay is obviously a huge stand-up comedian. So it's cool to see his first kind of theatrical debut.
And I wish like some of his comedy material would bring back up this movie or something. Overall, it's not too crazy of a plot. It's this lawnmower killer massacres a bunch of friends of Mary Graves. and he's back out for revenge on Halloween night a few years later, it looked like. And yeah, so it's pretty much it. And the cops are just like, because the crazy lunatic escaped, like that's why the cops are out searching for him and everything. And just I remember the lawnmower scene, like it was just hilarious to see like how it went down in the opening scene. It definitely starts off with a bang, I'd say. And then that's when it starts off with or goes into a lot of comedy, I'd say, for the most of the movie. And some of the jokes did land, but there was just, overall for me, I just thought there was too much happening. Like it would go from character to weird scene to weird scene. It almost felt like a Family Guy episode at times. Definitely,
I got Family Guy vibes. One of the main things, though, for me that I think kind of ruined the enjoyment of the film wasn't like necessarily the film itself. It was the film grade, which is degraded so far. Like the opening scene, we couldn't really see anything at all because it's so like the majority of the film is so dark. Like this is taken from what maybe the master is now. Yeah. And it's just like it's degraded so far that you can't really see much. I know there is a Blu-ray release, so I would hope that version's better. But I think what we were watching was like a VHS of a film version. They're both degraded. Yeah. But I would hope the Blu-ray version is better than this, because it was kind of depressing how like bad the quality of the actual thing was. Right. Yeah. Like like the night scenes in particular, especially in the opening scene, like you literally said like, crap, I don't think we're gonna be able to watch this. Literally you couldn't see anything that was happening. It was way too dark. And you brought up also, it reminded you of Thanksgiving, the spoof trailer in the Grindhouse movie.
Cool it, Judy. Safe. Mommy's here.
And I remember that was like kind of hard to see what was going on in that, but it was definitely intentional there, and definitely not intentional here. It's just like, the quality of the movie, unfortunately. So Grayson Clark, the director of this movie, he's directed some other, pretty notorious cult movies like Black Shampoo or Joysticks, but he's also got a great eye. I mean, we saw this as, the theatrical debut of a star like Andrew Dice Clay. I think Grayson Clark, is a pretty interesting director. His career, he's done a lot of good cult movies. This one, I mean, if you think about it, this is, one of the first scary movies. There were a couple other parody movies that came out this same kind of time, like around 1982. And his maybe didn't rise to the top, but if you think about it, this is like the inkling of something, 10 or 15 years later with Scary Movie that, was pretty successful, went on for a long time. You know, he definitely has an eye for things. Yeah. I feel the need to mansplain to our audience. Also, they might think that we're talking about scary movies as a genre and stuff, but we're talking about, the Scary Movie franchise. I guess we should have been more elaborate there. Yeah. But Grayson Clark, I mean, there's a couple negative things about him. I guess he passed on two huge actors. Oh, really? Well, they probably wouldn't have had the careers they had if they started in this movie. What's it called? James Spader auditioned for the role of Norman Bates. I thought that was kind of cool. Like James Spader eventually went on to manage Dunder Mifflin in The Office. And then one of my favorite actresses, Elaine from Seinfeld, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she auditioned for the role of Mary Graves. That would have been interesting to see her in this part. Yeah, I don't think adding them would have done anything more than it would have just maybe given other people, a chance like, oh, let me check out their first movie, because this probably would have been around one of their first movies. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, this movie's entertaining. I really wish the quality that which we watched it was a lot better, but it's fun to see that they were even spoofing movies back then, maybe to not as much success as, like Airplane. Yeah. Right. I was thinking exactly the same thing. Yeah. But like they were at least trying to still, spoof a lot of the movies that had come out at that time. This is an indie version of that, essentially, it felt like. Yeah, definitely. Closing thoughts. I mean, I would say that this is not like my favorite movie that we watched on here. It's definitely watchable. I'd say I wasn't in pain watching this one or anything. It's fun if you're going to watch it stoned. I'd say blaze yourself out of your mind and watch this one. But I mean, I'm good with it just staying in the dumpster and being forgotten, though. No need for a very proper Blu-ray release of it, I'd say. I mean, honestly, it feels like we legitimately found this in the dumpster because of how hard it was to see. Yeah. Like any night scene, which is like probably a quarter at least, or if not a half of the movie, you can't really see. So it felt like we were watching it through a dumpster. Yeah. But I mean, I can't really see anyone pulling this out of the dumpster because it just seems like there's so many movies that are similar at the time. And there was a lot of jokes in this film that, are
are specifically about movies that had come out a couple years prior,
right?
As opposed to now, where 30 years out and aren't as relevant. So, anyways, guys, that is going to close it out for Direct to Dumpster this week.
Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate the support. And as always, the best way to help us out is to rent the movie through our Amazon affiliate link, which you can find in the description box below.
Leave us a comment and let us know what you thought about Wacko, and smash that like button. And as always, the best way to get our content delivered straight to you is by clicking that notification bell.
And that is Drive By Movies with this week's episode of Direct to Dumpster. Be sure to tune in next week for more.